Hello and welcome to the broadcast today. I'm Dr. KDEL, and we'll be looking at doing more with less, budgeting in the midst of scarcity, especially in virtual environments. As I said, I'm Dr. KD. I'm the lead coach at KDE Leadership, and I'm your presenter for today. I always begin with a few opening corporate statements of fact. The first one is that scarce organizational resources necessitate planning and budgeting. And to do more with less resources, leaders must categorize and prioritize their tasks. And that brings us to the need for negotiations, outsourcing, and offshoring, which are vital tools for budgeting in the midst of scarcity. We're now going to be reviewing budgeting and scarcity fundamentals, as well as the virtual operating best practices during lean economic times, and of course, in remote work scenarios. I'm going to start with budgeting. Budgeting can be defined as a plan that includes the money you will spend and when you will spend it. Budgeting can include your income and your expenses. So to produce a reasonable budget, you must plan your activities. You must estimate your plan, by which I mean you must cost your plan, and then you have to add a timeline to your estimate. By timeline, I mean scheduling your calendar dates. So how do you plan your project? To do that, you make a list of all the tasks that will be required to complete the project, sequencing them from first to last tasks, and assigning the resource personnel that will handle each task. To estimate your plan, you let your resource personnel that are in charge of individual tasks give you dollar costs for achieving each task. Of course, adding them all up to give you a final estimate. And to budget your estimate, you have to now add timelines to those tasks. This leads to a final duration for the entire project. The budget should include the cost of internal labor, cost of consultants and similar services, cost of direct materials, cost of indirect materials and tools. Remember to include between 5 and 15% for contingencies, which is what we call in project management, the known unknowns. And you must also, of course, include your company-driven percentage for profits. Usually that ranges between 15% and 40%, depending on your industry or your business sector. Now let's move on to scarcity. Scarcity is defined as having less than you feel you need. It's a feeling based on facts. And scarcity can occur financially, socially, time-wise, food-wise, sleep-wise, exercise-wise, etc. It occurs in every field of endeavor. Now, there's several elements of scarcity, and I'm just going to kind of itemize them now. We've got focusing, we've got tunneling, we've got packing, we've got trade-off thinking, and of course, we've got slack. Let me just spend a couple of minutes and explain what these mean. Focusing occurs when a commodity such as time and money are scarce. For example, we're more productive when resources are limited. We use less toothpaste when the tube is running empty. We savor the last of our expensive chocolates or candy. And we even write better when we have a tight word limit. That is focusing. Tunneling, on the other hand, occurs when we focus single-handedly on one task. Due to the scarcity at hand, we tunnel sometimes to the detriment of other tasks. In essence, focus is a scarcity positive, while tunneling can be a scarcity negative. The other phenomenon I want to share with you is called packing. Just imagine you're packing your suitcase for a trip. The size of your container determines the care you spend in packing. A small container means more careful planning, for squeezing things in. A larger container means more leisurely and carefree packing. So we tend to pack in activities into a very short amount of time. And then you have trade-off thinking. This is what you give up eventually because you elected to do something else. It's more like opportunity cost. For example, eating out versus cooking at home, and getting involved in make or buy decisions. These are two examples of trade-off thinking. Finally, the last phenomenon for scarcity is slack. Slack basically is the space you have above your immediate needs. It allows you to make expenses, to utilize an additional human resource, or spend more time in non-essentials without having to plan excessively, okay? Slack frees us from making trade-offs because we can afford it. And the funny thing about slack is that it decreases where there is extreme resource scarcity. The scarcer the resources, the less slack or leeway there is. So budgeting during scarcity demands a certain mindset, an intentional mindset. To manage the demands of many tasks and minimal resource personnel to execute them, we must categorize and prioritize our tasks. You want to categorize your tasks under 4 groupings at the least: urgent tasks, important tasks, not so urgent tasks, and not so important tasks. These are your 4 basic groupings. Now, based on other criteria such as customer and supervisor requirements, you can add more groups. You then focus and tunnel into the important and urgent tasks, as I mentioned earlier, with the emphasis being on producing contingency templates that turn your urgent and important tasks into not urgent, but still important tasks. The Eisenhower matrix identifies this as quadrant number 2 activities and recommends that we do everything within our power to stay in that quadrant. Other activities will eventually fall into a watch list or a discard basket. Now, we must decide on whether we're producing or buying. This means that we decide if we're going to produce ourselves or hire someone else to produce it for us. And of course, hiring someone else to do the job is called outsourcing. Outsourcing has the added advantages of being cheaper and quicker to deliver, but has the risk of schedule and quality slip-ups, as well as you having less control because somebody else is in charge of production, is in charge of the schedule, and you have no real control over them. And this brings us to negotiations. If we elect to outsource, that is, if we're buying from an external source, then negotiations will have to come in because we have to talk with those people about pricing, about scheduling, about quality expectations, and what have you. So negotiations are used when scarcity abounds. You want to get the lowest possible price for the highest possible quantity or quality. Negotiations help us to arrive at our make or buy decisions. If negotiations go well and you get a good price or a good timeline, you might decide to make a purchase. Otherwise, you might decide to use your in-house team to get it done yourself. That brings us to two phenomena that are very, very appropriate negotiation strategies in scarcity situations. One is called BATNA, the other one is called ZOPA. BATNA, B-A-T-N-A, is an acronym for best alternative to a negotiated agreement. It's best used to haggle over who gets what and requires a lot of transparency. On the other hand, ZOPA is an acronym for Zone of Possible Agreement, and is best used to haggle over price, often between a buyer and a seller, and of course identifies a zone or range of pricing where a deal could eventually be struck. Having said that, what have we reviewed in this brief presentation? We want to leverage technology, utilize cloud storage facilities appropriate video conferencing platforms, multiple user license software, electronic signature software, and task organization software such as Concept Draw Office to get stuff done, to smoothen the process, to quicken the process, to scale. You want to share your budget, your schedule, and your quality expectations with your virtual team. They need to know. You want to delegate and empower your team by giving them the authority to make some decisions. This includes make or buy decisions and the authority to outsource where necessary. Teach them how to negotiate well. Let them be familiar with the rudiments of Batman and Zopa. They will save you money, they will improve your outcomes, and they'll give you speedier completion times. Share the principles and need for frugal spending. Learn from focusing, tunneling, and trade-off thinking. You want to prioritize your assignments. Use the Eisenhower matrix to determine important, urgent, and watch list tasks, and to guide your implementation phase. And the final goal is to do more with less. Share your information transparently and in real time with your team members. Stretch your meager resources. Achieve your goals on time. Satisfy your end users. And keep your peace of mind. I'll be ending right now. And as I end, I want to share a little bit something with you, very, very quickly with you. Our last two presentations were on team dynamics and change management. You can watch replays of them on my LinkedIn profile page. Enjoy it. And please do share the link with your team members. If you want to bring these trainings in-house to your team, just schedule on my online calendar. I'm on calendly.com/KDE leadership/30 minutes. Let me say that again, calendly.com/KDE leadership/30 minutes. I want to invite you to join me for our next LinkedIn Live event on Friday, June 16th, 2023 by 7 p.m. Eastern, exactly 1 week from today. The topic is going to be project management. The topic is going to be project management, knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And of course, we're going to be looking at the PMO setup and operations. I'm going to be encouraging you to sign up with us on LinkedIn to receive notifications for these events. You can also join us via Zoom. The link is displayed on the screen. Finally, these short presentations, there are 5 of them in total, are a build-up to our 3-day virtual leadership conference coming up between July 10th and 12th, 2023, conveniently scheduled between 8 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. Eastern on all 3 days. Zoom details will be available once you register. The descriptions and the sign-up link are at the bottom of the screen. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope today's presentation will be of help to you as you manage your teams, as you wear different hats, and as you strive to be more productive with limited resources. See you next week at the next presentation on project management, KSAs, and PMO setups. Be safe. I am Coach KDEL signing out. Thanks for hanging with me today.